Liars operate from a place of fear, and the psychology behind their behavior is both fascinating and revealing. At the core, lying is a shield, a cover to protect themselves from consequences they don't want to face. For some, lying is about avoiding embarrassment or punishment. For others, it's about manipulating people or situations to gain an advantage. But no matter the reason, all lies are fueled by the same foundation: insecurity and fear of exposure. When someone chooses to lie, what they are really saying is, "I don't trust that the truth will serve me." That lack of trust in reality forces them to build an artificial version of it, a house of cards that must be carefully maintained. The problem for liars is that every falsehood creates weight, and the heavier their lies get, the more unstable they become. Understanding this is powerful, because when you realize a liar is not acting from strength, but from weakness, you stop giving them the power they want over you. They might look confident, they might speak loudly, they might double down on their words, but inside they're juggling fear. They're afraid of being found out, afraid of being seen for who they truly are, and afraid of losing control. And that fear makes them desperate to control you through manipulation. They don't lie because they're strong, they lie because they're fragile. Another layer to the psychology of liars is the way they thrive on reaction. A liar's greatest weapon is not the lie itself, it's your emotional response to it. When you get upset, when you start defending yourself, when you rush to prove them wrong, they've gained what they want: control of the narrative. They can now spin the situation and paint you as the problem. This is why many liars will accuse you of being too sensitive, too angry, or too emotional. It's a deflection tactic. The more emotional energy you pour into confronting their lie, the less attention there is on the dishonesty itself. That's why staying calm is so devastating to a liar. It keeps the spotlight exactly where it belongs on their words. Liars are also driven by the need for validation. When they lie and you react defensively, it confirms to them that they still have influence over you. They know they've gotten under your skin, but if you respond with calm observation, with silence, or even just steady eye contact, it rattles them. Because in that moment, they don't get the feedback loop they depend on. They're left wondering, did my story work? Are they buying it? And that uncertainty forces them to scramble, often leading them into contradictions or over-explaining, which exposes them further. Another important piece of their psychology is the short-term mindset. Liars rarely think long-term about the consequences of their dishonesty. They focus only on escaping the immediate discomfort or gaining the immediate advantage. It's like plugging holes in a sinking ship. They can patch one spot, but eventually the water seeps in somewhere else. Because lies are not built to last, they require constant maintenance, and that's exhausting. Over time, even skilled liars slip up, because the human brain is not designed to carry endless falsehoods without error. The longer you stay calm and observant, the more their story begins to unravel under its own weight. It's also worth noting that liars are deeply uncomfortable with silence. In everyday conversations, silence feels heavy, but for a liar, it feels dangerous. If you ask them a direct question and then go silent, they panic. They feel the need to keep talking, to fill the gap, to make sure they sound convincing. And the more they talk, the more opportunities they give themselves to stumble. This is why silence, paired with calm composure, is one of the most effective tools you can use. The layer's fear of exposure collides with their fear of your non-reaction, creating pressure they cannot easily withstand. Liars also hate being truly seen. When you look at them calmly, without flinching, without overreacting, it unsettles them. Because in that moment, they feel naked. They sense that you're not fooled. And even if you haven't spoken a word, they know they've lost ground. This kind of unspoken recognition is far more powerful than shouting or debating. It takes away their illusion of control. And without control, their lie loses its grip. When you break down the psychology of liars, it becomes clear they don't hate being challenged nearly as much as they hate being calmly exposed. They despise silence because it starves them of control. They fear composure because it denies them the emotional reaction they depend on. And they cannot stand observation because it shines a light on their fragility. That's why the trick works. It doesn't play the liar's game. It forces them into their own web of fear while you remain steady and unshaken. One of the most common mistakes we make when faced with dishonesty is overreacting. It's natural. Being lied to hurts, it frustrates us, and it offends our sense of fairness. The instinct is to call it out right away, to confront the liar head on, to raise our voice or demand an explanation. In the heat of that moment, it feels like the right thing to do. After all, lies deserve to be exposed. But here's the problem: overreacting rarely exposes the liar. Instead, it gives them the cover they need to shift the spotlight from their deception onto your behavior. Suddenly, the conversation is no longer about the dishonesty. It's about how emotional or angry you are. And in that shift, the liar wins. Liars thrive on this kind of energy because it allows them to reframe the situation. The louder and more defensive you get, the easier it becomes for them to say, "See, you're overreacting. You're not thinking clearly. You're twisting my words." With just a few phrases, they turn the focus away from the truth and onto your reaction. What started as an opportunity to hold them accountable becomes an argument about your attitude, your tone, or your emotions. And when you're caught in that trap, it's easy to lose sight of the original lie entirely. There's also a psychological element at play. When you overact, you provide liars with exactly what they're fishing for, a distraction. They know the lie itself is fragile, and they know if you stayed calm and observant, cracks would begin to show. But if they can provoke you into anger or defensiveness, they've bought themselves time. They've redirected the energy of the moment away from their weakness and toward your reaction. In their mind, if they can keep you busy defending yourself, they don't have to defend their own dishonesty. Another danger of overreacting is that it drains your credibility. Even if you are right, even if you have every reason to be angry, once your emotions boil over, it becomes easier for others to doubt you. Outsiders watching the interaction may not catch the lie, but they will notice your reaction. And perception matters. If you look out of control while the liar stays calm and collected, people often side with the calmer voice, even when that voice is dishonest. It's unfair, but it's the way human psychology works. Calmness looks like credibility, while emotional outbursts are often dismissed as weakness. Overreacting also plays directly into the liar's hands because it makes you predictable. A liar can plan for anger, can prepare for shouting, can even manipulate your defensiveness into another angle of their story. What they cannot prepare for is silence. What they cannot handle is composure. The moment you step outside of their expectations, the script in their mind falls apart. But if you react the way they want you to, loudly, defensively, with frustration, they know exactly how to spin it. They've seen it before, they know how to manage it, and they're ready to use it against you. It's also important to realize that overreacting takes something from you that you can never get back: your peace. Every outburst, every heated word, every sleepless night, replaying the argument in your head, it's all energy you've handed over to someone who didn't deserve it in the first place. Liars cost you twice when you overreact, first with their dishonesty, and second with the emotional toll you pay trying to fight them on their terms. That's a debt you don't need to keep collecting. Think about the power dynamic. When you remain calm, the liar feels the pressure. They sense the weight of their own words pressing down on them. But when you overreact, the pressure shifts onto you. You carry the weight of defending, of proving, of explaining, while they sit back and watch you unravel. In this way, overreacting gives away your power. It's like handing over your calmness, the very thing that would have revealed the lie, and letting them use it against you. The trap of overreacting isn't just about losing the argument, it's about losing your strength in the moment. When you overreact, you're not being true to yourself. You're allowing their lie to dictate your state of mind, your emotions, even your behavior. That means they've already won more than the argument. They've won access to your peace. And that's the one thing you should never give away. That's why the trick liars hate so much. Calmness, silence, observation is so effective. It keeps the power where it belongs with you. Overreacting is their battlefield. Composure is yours. And when you refuse to step into the trap of overreaction, you deny them the very fuel they need to keep their deception alive. Calm observation is one of the most powerful tools you can use when dealing with dishonesty, because it shifts the entire dynamic without you saying a single word. Most people, when they catch someone lying, want to react immediately. They want to call it out, demand answers, or expose the falsehood on the spot. But when you pause, when you observe, when you stay calm, you flip the script in a way that liars find deeply uncomfortable. They are prepared for confrontation, for defensiveness, even for anger. What they are not prepared for is silence paired with composure, because it forces them to confront their own story without your help. Observation is not passive, it is active. When you stay calm, you're studying the liar. You're noticing the cracks in their tone, the shifts in their body language, the small inconsistencies in their story. Every liar leaves a trail, but most people miss it because they're too busy reacting emotionally. By observing, you collect more than words. You gather the truth hidden in the pauses, the hesitations, the nervous fidgets, the over-explanations. And the longer you stay quiet, the harder it becomes for them to keep the mask in place. Calm observation also removes the pressure from you and places it squarely on them. When you don't react, they begin to feel the weight of the silence. They wonder what you're thinking, whether you believe them, whether they slipped up. That uncertainty makes them uncomfortable, and in their effort to fill the silence, they often reveal more than they intended. Many liars can maintain one false statement, but when forced to keep talking under watchful calm, their stories begin to unravel. They contradict themselves, they add unnecessary details, or they backtrack. Your stillness creates the space for their lie to collapse. What's even more powerful is the message calm observation sends. Without words, you're saying, I see you, I'm not fooled, and I don't need to explain myself to you. That kind of presence is intimidating because it denies the liar what they want most: your emotional reaction. They cannot feed off your anger, they cannot twist your defensiveness, and they cannot use your words to escape their own. All they're left with is the weight of their own dishonesty. By practicing calm observation, you take control of the moment. You don't waste energy proving yourself, and you don't let them dictate the pace of the conversation. Instead, you let the silence and your steady presence work for you. Over time, liars reveal themselves, and the truth has a way of surfacing when you give it enough space. Calm observation is not about letting them get away with the lie. It's about letting them defeat themselves with it. The trick that liars hate most is surprisingly simple. Ask a clear question, then go silent. Silence is uncomfortable for most people, but for liars, it is unbearable. They thrive in fast-paced conversations where they can spin, distract, and twist words to their advantage. When you slow everything down with a pause, you take away their playground. Suddenly, the spotlight is on them, and only them, and they are forced to carry the weight of their own words. Strategic silence is powerful because it does what confrontation cannot. It forces liars to reveal themselves. If you argue, they can argue back. If you defend yourself, they can deflect. But if you remain silent after asking something like, "Is that really what happened?" you give them no material to work with. The pause stretches, and in that space, the liar's mind races. They feel exposed. They start to wonder if you already know the truth, if you've caught them, if their story is falling apart. That pressure compels them to keep talking, and the more they talk, the more likely they are to stumble. This tactic works because silence is not passive, it's intentional. It signals confidence. You're saying without words, "I don't need to chase you. I'll let your own words do the work." Liars hate this because it robs them of control. They depend on your reactions to guide their performance. But when you give them nothing, no cues, no arguments, no defenses, they lose their script. They have to improvise, and improvisation is where cracks begin to show. The pause also changes the balance of power. Instead of you scrambling to prove the truth, the liar feels the pressure to keep their story straight. That role reversal is unsettling for them. They can no longer dictate the pace. They are stuck waiting for your next move while drowning in their own words. And here's the beauty of it. You haven't accused them. You haven't attacked them. You've only given them space to either stand by their lie or expose themselves with it. Strategic silence does something else. To it, protects your peace. You're not wasting energy in heated arguments. You're not being dragged into emotional battles you can't win. You're simply holding space and letting the liar show who they are. Over time, this approach not only reveals dishonesty, but it also strengthens your own confidence. You realize you don't need to fight for truth, you just need to give it room to breathe. That's why this trick works. And why liars hate it so much. It turns their own words against them, while you remain calm, composed, and firmly in control. Confidence isn't always loud, and it doesn't always look like having the sharpest comeback. Real confidence, the kind that rattles liars and exposes dishonesty, is quiet. It's steady. It's non-reactive. When someone lies to you, they're often watching more than just your ears. They're watching your face, your body language, your tone. They're looking for a sign that their lie worked, some flicker of doubt, some flash of anger, anything they can use to guide their next move. The moment you react, they adjust. But when you show no reaction, when you sit with calm composure, you deny them that information, and that's what makes them uneasy. Non-reactive confidence says, "I don't need to prove myself to you. I don't need to explain or defend. I know what I know, and I trust myself." That kind of posture makes liars feel exposed. They thrive on pulling people into their chaos, on making others doubt themselves, on gaining control through emotional reactions. But when they realize you're not taking the bait, they lose the advantage. Their story no longer feels powerful because it isn't moving you. And for someone trying to manipulate, nothing is more frustrating than a target they can't control. Another reason non-reactive confidence works is because it protects your credibility. When you respond with calmness, others who are watching notice. People are naturally drawn to composure, and they tend to trust the voice that isn't desperate to prove anything. A liar may try to twist the narrative, but if you remain calm while they become defensive, the contrast speaks volumes. Your stillness becomes evidence of strength, while their flustered behavior exposes their weakness. This kind of confidence doesn't mean you're ignoring the lie or letting it slide. It means you're choosing the higher ground. You're letting the liar burn energy while you conserve yours. You're making it clear that your peace is not for sale, and your dignity cannot be baited into reaction. Over time, this stance not only unsettles liars, it trains you to trust yourself more deeply. You learn that you don't have to fight every battle or respond to every false word. Sometimes the strongest response is no reaction at all. Liars hate non-reactive confidence because it leaves them powerless. They want you angry, they want you defensive, they want you unsettled. But when you stay calm and unshaken, you show them their words have no grip on you. And that's a kind of strength that can't be faked, argued with, or defeated. The hardest battles in life are not the ones fought with others, they are the ones fought within ourselves. And when you're faced with lies, rumors, or manipulations, the real question is not whether you can expose the liar, but whether you can protect your own peace and integrity in the process. That is where the true test lies. Because yes, you could go after them, confront them, argue, and pour all your energy into proving the truth. But at what cost? How much of your peace will you sacrifice? How much of your dignity will you hand over just to win a fight with someone who doesn't even value the truth in the first place? Protecting your peace and integrity isn't about ignoring dishonesty. It's about not allowing dishonesty to shape who you become. Peace is more than the absence of conflict. It's the presence of self-control. It's the decision to stand firm in your calm, even when someone is deliberately trying to shake it. Liars thrive on disruption. They want to throw you off balance, to make you lose your composure, to have you doubt yourself. And every time you take the bait, every time you get defensive, they gain a little more ground. But when you protect your peace, you starve them of what they crave most, control. You let them see that no matter what words they throw at you, your calm is not for sale. That kind of strength unsettles people who depend on manipulation because it shows them they have no influence over you. Integrity is equally important. It's the foundation of your character, the thread that holds together everything people can trust about you. And here's the thing about integrity: you don't have to announce it, you don't have to prove it. It shows itself through time and consistency. The danger when facing lies is the temptation to lower yourself to the same level as the liar. Maybe you exaggerate to defend yourself, maybe you bend the truth to make your case stronger, maybe you start playing the same games. But in doing so, you chip away at your integrity. And once that is gone, no amount of proving or arguing can restore it. Protecting your integrity means resisting the urge to compromise who you are just to get even. It means remembering that the truth has a way of surfacing without your help, and that no lie lasts forever. When you make peace and integrity your priority, you shift the entire dynamic. You stop being a pawn in someone else's game. You stop chasing validation from people who aren't interested in the truth. Instead, you live in alignment with your values. You allow your calmness, your actions, and your steadiness to speak louder than any rumor or falsehood. And here's the beautiful part: people notice. Those who truly matter, those who are paying attention, they see the difference. They see who loses control and who stays grounded. They see who is scrambling and who is steady. And in that contrast, the truth often reveals itself without you having to say a word. Protecting your peace and integrity also gives you freedom. Freedom from the endless tug of war of trying to fix everyone's perception. Freedom from the exhausting cycle of defending yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. And freedom from the trap of letting someone else's dishonesty dictate your emotions. When you choose to stand in calm strength, you break free from their control. You start being reactive and start being intentional. That is where true power lives, not in controlling others, but in controlling yourself. Lies are temporary. They might spread quickly, they might create noise, but they cannot endure the weight of time. Integrity does, peace does. And when you commit to protecting those two things above all else, you've already won. You've already defeated the lie without lifting your voice. You've already proven your strength without saying a word. Because at the end of the day, your peace and your integrity are the one thing no one can take from you unless you hand them over. And that is why guarding them is the greatest trick of all, one that liars truly hate, because it leaves them powerless against the strength of someone who refuses to be moved. At the end of the day, dealing with liars isn't about out-arguing them, out-shouting them, or exhausting yourself trying to prove the truth. It's about understanding the game they play and refusing to play it. Liars rely on your reactions, your anger, your defensiveness, your desperation to set the record straight. But when you stop giving them that energy, you take back the power they were trying to steal. The truth doesn't need you to fight for it every second. It just needs you to stay steady long enough for it to come to light. That's why calm observation, strategic silence, and non-reactive confidence are so effective. They make the liar face their own words, and they preserve your peace in the process. You don't lose yourself in their chaos. You don't trade your dignity for their dishonesty. Instead, you let them reveal themselves while you remain grounded in who you are. And here's the key. Your peace and your integrity are worth more than winning any argument. Lies may be loud, but they're temporary. Truth may be quiet, but it's unshakable. When you learn to stay calm, to pause, to let silence do the work, you not only expose dishonesty, you also rise above it. So remember this, you don't have to fight to prove what's real. You just have to live it. And in that calm, in that silence, in that steady confidence, you hold a kind of power that no lie can ever touch.